You can always be thinner. Look better.
talk a bit about today's trade and today's price action, so let's talk about that. But first I would like to talk about why I took this trade, so let's talk. So we, before the New York Open, we were very bullish, and now it's lagging a bit. So when we gone for the New York Open, we were already very bullish, and here I had a plan to take shorts, but my plan got invalidated because here we had this 15-minute bearish fair value gap, and my plan would be that we would sweep this high inside of this fair value gap, and then we would have 15-minute candle close below this fair value gap or inside, respecting the fair value gap, and then we'll try to find shorts after that. But here, as you can see, we had a candle closure above. Here we had a candle closure below, but it's not valid because the candles are not the best there on trading view. Here on TradeWalker you can see we respect the gap, so here my plan got invalidated to short, so I was bullish, and because the structure was bullish, so I started to try to find longs, and here we had this move down, then we got this move up. Here we just show you here on TradeWalker. So here we had this inverse fair value gap, this inverse fair value gap, and we had a candle closure in the 15 minutes respecting the gap. So I was very bullish. Here I was just waiting for this break of structure to confirm that we were bullish and to try to find longs. So we had a break of structure, and then I put my entry here at this fair value gap. We reclaimed the fair value gap, gone a bit lower. Here I got filled. The price gone a bit lower, but did not hit my stop loss, and then started going higher. Here after we had, I think was here that I had my break-even level. So here the price hit this level. I put my stop loss at break-even because this is a very small trade, a one-to-one, basically one-to-one trade, and because the price action was not the best, I just put my stop loss at break-even to reduce the risk, and because that's my strategy, and that's what I did. And guess what, the price gone higher, gone to my stop loss, and then started going higher again. Last week I had a trade like this. I entered, the price gone higher, then touched my stop loss, and then gone higher again. So unfortunate again, but it is what it is. I'm thinking about changing this strategy and not moving my stop loss until it hits any of my take profits. So my vision for the day was very good. My bias was good. I had a good entry, not the best. Here I could have entered here at this extreme fair value gap, but when we touched this fair value gap, we were already bearish on the 1 minute, and then we created bearish fair value gaps, and here I could have entered here, but was not the best, so I just entered here because we were already bullish. We inverted a lot of gaps. We were bullish on the 15 minutes, 5 minutes, and here on the 1 minute again, so I was very confident, so I just put my entry here. The price gonna be lower, but did not hit my stop loss, and then went higher. Hit my stop loss at break even and gone higher again, but it is what it is. It's part of the journey. I followed my strategy, so was a decent day, was a good day. So if you liked the video, like and subscribe, and tomorrow I'll be back. So hope you enjoyed, and see you tomorrow.